Watch the salty language.
Oh, so this. I can't participate in this.
Yeah.
Not early.
No.
I don't represent them, but I represent an interested party.
Chris, I thought Chris was going to be first.
No, like this.
There you go, full house.
Yeah.
Oh.
Steve, is Kathy going to be with us?
Yeah. As far as I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Door duty.
Very good. Well, we still don't have, well, we do have a quorum.
Yeah, we got 3 of them on the,
Who are the three?
Shelley, Chris, and Judy.
Oh, okay.
And Tamara.
And Tamara.
And Tamara.
So we got
Okay.
everybody.
Yep.
Can't read those lines. Can't read that later. Is that me or just not in focus?
It does look out of focus, yeah. All right, call the meeting to order. Welcome to City of Hagerstown's Planning Commission meeting, January the 12th, 2022. We have a full house of commissioners with us this afternoon, 3 of which are online and 3 of which are live. Online, we have Chris Davis, Shelley McIntyre, our ex officio and council person, and Tamara Martinez. In the room with me on my far right is Ron Thomas. Next to me is Jim Stone, and my name is Doug Wright. Also, we have in the room currently staff. We have Steve Bachmiller, our zoning administrator, Megan Flick, zoning planner, and Amy Hall, who is our administrative coordinator. I understand Kathy Marr will be with us shortly, the director.
Doug, excuse me, but there are 4 of us remote. You forgot to mention me, Judy.
I didn't hear any of that.
Judy Wheeler is also, you didn't list her when you called the roll.
Judy, I'm sorry.
And Judy, we can barely hear you. That's not a good sign.
Steve?
Oh, Chris, is that you?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything for the past minute or so. Is everything okay there?
Megan's checking. Stand by.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to run another test. Chris Davis, you there?
Yes.
Judy Wheeler.
Yes,
Okay. Ms. Martinez.
Present.
Okay, and Ms. McIntyre.
yes.
Okay, and before we get started, about a half an hour ago, I did send out one additional document for this meeting regarding the forest variance, just to give you a heads up in case you hadn't seen it in the last 30 minutes or so. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So we'll move on with approval of a couple sets of minutes. first one, and we need to do this one at a time because of different attendance at each meeting. So the first one is July the 28th.
Don't move. This is Chris.
Second.
I've got
Oh, wait,
some
Sorry about that.
areas that we need to make either change or whatever. The first line on the applicant presentation on page 2.
Ron, can you bring the mic a little closer?
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
On the first line, on the applicant, it says here that the building has an upper level accessible by interior stairway, which should include also it has an exterior stairway to the second floor also. Or do we need to do that?
This is on July the 28th.
28, yes, page 2,
Oh, I'm
second
sorry.
line.
Second line.
This is the Eklund property.
Yes,
issue.
the Eklund, yes.
If we're describing the building, I believe we should get that corrected.
By interior and exterior stairways?
Yes, it also has an exterior stairway. You can see it on the photographs that's with the presentation.
Okay. Who seconded the motion, by the way?
We haven't gotten a second yet.
We haven't got one, okay.
Moving to the next one.
Are you done with this set of minutes?
No, this is still
Oh,
the same minutes.
Okay.
Same paragraph. Here's a statement that says, it is planned building, probably should say it is a planned building with a little in the way of historical architectural.
Should be plain.
Plain,
Plain.
yeah, it is a plain building. It just says it is plain building.
Does
Do you
a
want to
plain building.
correct that graphically or just let it go at that?
No, let's fix it.
Okay.
Any other additions or corrections?
Yes, on the same page,
Thank you.
the last paragraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth down, it says develop has many. Should it be development has many features?
Yes.
And the last line, it says some detached from house. Should it be from the house or just from house?
Very last line.
Very last line.
Yes.
Okay, that's all for that set of minutes.
So I need a second on the motion. Is there one?
Yes, second.
You're okay. And you were there. Great. Motion made and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
And we have, I'm sure, 2 abstentions, correct?
Yes, I abstain.
Stone,
Yep.
Ed, and Judy.
Mr. Chairman, for this meeting, since we have so many people remote, whenever you take a vote, if you could make it as a roll call vote, that way we can track it better.
All right.
Thanks.
So I'm gonna ask each of you individually. Chris Davis,
Aye.
Shelley McIntyre,
Aye.
Ron Thomas,
Aye.
Jim Stone,
Abstain.
Demiro, Martinez. You have to abstain, I'm sure.
Yeah, abstain.
Yeah, you weren't even a member then.
Right, right.
And Chris Davis?
You already got me.
Oh,
Judy?
Judy?
Judy, did I
Abstain.
get Judy?
No.
Judy?
Abstain.
All right, and I vote yes.
So
Uh,
4-0 with 3 abstentions.
Yes. So we'll move on into the minutes from August the 11th.
This is Chris, so moved.
Second.
All righty. I've noted a few things. And the roll call, we have Jim both absent and present.
Well, I'm pretty sure I was here.
That takes talent.
That called stuffing the ballot or something? or-
Yeah.
I
So
was here.
I think you were here because you ran the meeting.
And I think you were not here.
Yeah.
According to this, you were here.
My name's not
Call the
on
workshop
there.
Meeting to order.
Oh, well, I guess I was, really, I'm at the top, so. All right, well, Jim, you thought you were here, so,
All
I
right.
believe I was there.
yeah, that was back in August, so.
So we'll take you off of the absent list. All right.
I have nothing else. Ron, do you have
I
anything?
don't have anything on this one.
All righty. Motion made and second. I guess we're ready to vote. So Jim Stone,
Aye.
Chris Davis,
Aye.
Ron Thomas,
Aye.
Shelley McIntyre,
Aye.
Judy Wheeler,
Abstain?
Tamara Martinez.
Abstain.
Thank you. And I vote yes. Did I get everybody?
Looks like it, yeah.
All right, next 7 minutes is done with the first.
This is Chris. So moved.
I've got some on September the 1st.
Yeah, well, okay, with Ron, you going to second?
Oh, second. I've got some.
And you've got things to fix. Okay.
All right, on page 2, on the 5th line down, it says, the building has been used this way 4 years. It probably means 4 years.
Correct.
Or-
It's more scientific.
Okay. Okay, and then on page 4, right where it says number 3, discussion, I think, Bill, you can see the error there. At the bottom, the discussion adoption,
Name correction.
the need for correction. Yes,
We got it.
you're now Mr. Wright, W-R-I-T-E.
Oh,
Pick that one up?
no, I didn't. Speed reading.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the maker of the motion okay with the revisions?
Yes.
All right, voice roll call or roll call by voice. Mr. Stone,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Ms. Wheeler.
Aye.
Okay. Ms. Davis, you made the motion. There you are. You already got you.
Martinez and McIntyre.
Ms. McIntyre,
Abstain.
who did I miss? Me?
Ms. Martinez. Martinez.
Oh, Ms. Martinez. Abstain, right?
Correct.
Thank you. And I'll vote yes. So are you keeping track of how many it passed though?
Yeah.
Okay. Next set of minutes on October 13th.
Move that the minutes be accepted.
I'll second.
Okay. All righty. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, we'll go for the vote, call for the vote. Mr. Stone,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Ms. Wheeler,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Aye.
One, two, three, four, Mr. Mears, Martinez,
Abstained.
and me, I vote yes. Next is the minutes from October 25.
This is Chris, so moved.
Thank you.
25?
25, it should be
20.
October 20, or October 20, yep.
Yeah.
Second? Anybody want to second that?
I'll second, but I also have a correction.
All right.
Okay, under commission discussion at the bottom of the first page, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th line down, it says provide commission, and that should be with, need to add W-I-T-H, Gaithersburg, with, it's W-I-T there.
Y'all got that? Okay. Anything else on that set?
I haven't found anything.
All righty, we're ready to vote then. Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Ms. Wheeler,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Aye.
Mr. Stone,
Abstain?
and Ms. Martinez.
Abstained.
Thank you, and I vote yes. Next, we have the minutes of October 27th.
This is Chris, so moved.
This is Shelley, second.
And I have a correction.
Okay,
Under D, other business, the second line up from the bottom, it says some discussion as also, I think it should be was as, was also.
was also had.
Yes,
Missing the W, okay.
Yeah.
Ready to vote? Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Aye.
Ms. Wheeler,
Abstain?
and Ms. Martinez,
Abstained. Thank you.
and I vote yes. It passes. November 10,
This is Chris, so moved.
thank you.
Second, Judy?
That was Judy? Okay.
Yep.
And
Judy, your volume is low. I don't know if you can beef it up any or not, but
Okay.
thank you.
Sorry.
Ron?
clarity, I think, on one, it says, under B, Planning Commission Business 2001, the second sentence says, most of the material the commission has seen at prior meetings is workshop format,
Workshop, yeah.
workshop, excuse me. I'm not sure exactly what that's saying is.
No, it's presented to us in the form of workshop material.
Okay, then
I'm assuming that's what,
there's no clarity.
It has been in workshop format.
yeah,
Has been,
okay.
okay, I thought there was something in there, I put clarity on there, but it said has seen,
Very good.
so I guess it should be
Has been.
has been
Yeah.
at prior, okay. That was the clarity I was looking at, I looked at, so. And many of these, I was going.
Anything else in this set?
I've just noticed on page 2, there's a second reference to a motion that has nothing following it. We just strike that.
Where's that?
Middle of page 2,
Okay,
just below motion where it says Mr. Stone made a motion to, then if you notice below that is another header for a motion, then has nothing following.
oh, okay,
So we're going to strike that.
okay,
Oh, the word motion, okay.
motion, okay. Got it. I didn't see anything else on November 10th.
Ms. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Ms. Wheeler,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Abstained?
and I vote yes. Have you all ever seen paint dry before? Well, you're seeing it now.
Pretty much.
Okay, December the 8th.
Okay.
Motion?
Move that the minutes be accepted
Thank you.
with coming corrections.
this is Chris, second.
Thank you.
Okay. On page 1, the last sentence, I've got a question mark there, I guess for clarity. It says, he feels that very few developments around areas developing have alleys.
Should be R.
What was that? It should be,
He feels that very few developments around the area are developing with alleys.
are developing. Okay, that's the clarity I was looking for. Okay.
Or that one. Maybe it's better.
What was that again, Jim?
Maybe it would be better to say that areas that are developing. Because that's, I think, what the comment was.
Okay.
Okay, so it's in other words, it feels that areas instead of very.
No, no, no.
What?
I meant to say, he feels that very few developments around areas that are developing have alleys.
He feels that very few areas develop.
Okay.
Okay.
Before you go on, I kind of like being an E chair, but I'm not so sure what it means.
What's that?
On page 1.
On page 1.
Say it again.
I think where I'm listed, it should be vice chair instead of E chair.
Oh, each year?
Each.
It might be something new though.
That sounds fancy, Jim.
Meeting, but remotely.
Mr. E.
Vice chair.
All right, we can change that to vice, please.
Okay.
Motion's been made and second. We have a few corrections.
Okay, one other correction.
Okay.
Let me make sure that's all on December 8th. The first line, it says, increase the cost of construction and the developer. Okay, the developer will simply move.
Got it.
Skip one set of minutes in between there, between December and October, the new ones we got today. Do we want to go over those or wait for that?
This kid stay in the word of the packet. We're good,
Okay,
which is the agenda,
okay.
or maybe it is in the agenda. I have a few more on the meetings of December the 8th.
Okay.
And on page 3, item 3, I would like the record to show that I recused myself and I was out of the room. And I returned at the end. So I was available for number 4.
I temporarily acted as chair.
Yes.
Got it.
And then on top of page 4, we're dealing with New Management's minor site plan on 115 West Washington Street. You carried over a mistake made in your presentation where you say this plan was approved by Potomac Edison. Potomac Edison is not the supplier of power in the 100 block of West Washington Street. I think that should be City Light or City Power or whatever the appropriate title is.
How the heck did I miss that? City Light.
Anything else before we vote? Motion made by Ron, second by Chris. Move on to the vote then, Mr. Stone,
Aye.
each chair. Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez.
Finally, aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Aye.
Ms. Wheeler.
Abstain.
Thank you. Okay, now we have the minutes for, pardon me?
And you're voting favorably.
I'm voting in favor. I'm sorry, I forgot myself. Thank you. December the 20th.
This is Chris, so moved.
I second that.
Chris, Ron jumped in front of you.
Right, I'll second.
Thank you.
And oddly enough, I must be slipping. I didn't see anything that needed to be corrected or questioned.
Well, then that'd be perfect. There is one correction at the bottom of page 2.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Correction at the bottom of page 2. I think it's many design standards.
There are many instead of may.
Mhm.
Where is that?
Yes.
Bottom line, page 2.
Okay. There are many. All right. Okay.
We have something at the top of page 2. Third line. We're talking about the commission asked that a sketch be shown in, you say, plan view. I believe you did supply us a sketch in plan view, and I suggested that you add a profile view. And then, so that word plan should go to profile. And then in the next paragraph down, Mr. Wright suggested that both plan and profile illustrations be used. Suggested that both.
Profile. And then the other one should read plan and profile.
Yeah, both plan and profile views
Okay, what was that?
or illustrations, either one.
What was that in the third paragraph or the second?
That's the second paragraph, first line.
First line, oh. Oh, plan and profile.
You ready to vote? The maker and the second are okay with the revisions?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Ms. Wheeler,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Aye.
and I say aye. Okay, I guess now we'll,
One more set of minutes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It's sent out after the package went out.
right. So to bring your attention now to the separate submittal for the minutes of September the 9th.
This is Chris, so moved.
Can I get a second?
Second?
Thank you.
I didn't see anything there. Scanning through it
Okay,
at a faster rate.
You ready to vote? Hearing no objections, move on. Mr. Stone,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez.
Aye.
Yes, no abstain.
Right, that's what I thought. I'm sorry.
And Ms. Wheeler,
Jane,
and I'm an aye. All right, that was a half an hour. Nobody has dinner reservations. Okay. So the first development review we have is Forest Conservation Ordinance variance requested for the removal of specimen trees, huh? I missed something?
We're good.
Okay. I heard a noise, I just, all righty. So,
Okay, before you is a request for a variance to the Forest Conservation Ordinance filed by the project engineer Frederick Seibert and Associates on behalf of Kerwood Hagerstown LLC. This is for the Harrison tract on the west side of Howell Road, north side of Edgewood Drive. There's 48 specimen trees that are on the property. A specimen tree is a tree that's at least 30 inches in diameter, 4.5 feet above the ground. To remove, as part of the Forest Conservation Plan, a specimen tree requires a variance granted by this body. There's 48 specimen trees located throughout this almost 200-acre property. The vast majority of them are in the floodplain down along Antietam Creek, which are not going to be disturbed. However, there are 13 specimen trees, at least 9 of which definitely will be impacted. The other 4 probably will be impacted. And those are up in the central part of the site where the development of the warehouse project will be. You have certain criteria in the ordinance for you all to review the application against. It's up to the applicant to make their presentation and explain their justification for you. We do in these cases provide analysis of what we received prior to the meeting. That's incorporated into your staff report at the bottom of page 2 and throughout the second page too, because I didn't change the numbering on that one. Sorry, it should be page 3 there. So it's bottom of page 2 and on page 3, the text that's in dark bold italics is staff analysis. We don't make a recommendation on these things. We just simply provide you our analysis. You can take it under advisement after you talk to the applicant and any other persons who are interested. If after you have determined, taken your testimony and determined how you want to go, I have taken liberty of drafting a decision and order for you. We've done this in a prior case, seemed to work okay, because these forest variances are really very cut and dry. There's not a whole lot of stuff that may come out of left field as far as I can tell. So we do have a draft for you. If you choose to, you can review it. If it's sufficient, you all can authorize your chair to sign it today, or you can hold off until your next meeting, up to you. But I did provide it to you if you want to do that today. With that, Frederick is here on behalf of the applicant.
Let the record reflect that I'm going to recuse myself from this matter.
There was a chair there.
Yeah. You want to beat the desk, or do you have the plan on, if you can bring it up there, probably with the chair, I take off my mask.
That's fine, they. We'll hear you better.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, thank you for entertaining our request. You may recall back in November, I was before you with the developers, who could not be here tonight, but they were in my office all day today, still making changes to this plan. This plan is coming together hot and heavy. They have me asking for this waiver because without it, they really can't develop this property as fully as they want to. Remember, a lot of this property along the edge, along the Antietam Creek, has a 100-year floodplain, and as Steve mentioned, the majority of these 48 trees are in that area. There's 13 of them that Thank you. I guess I wasn't loud enough. So there's 13 of them that are not in the floodplain. And initially, there was going to be 9, and then 2 more that are on the limit of disturbance that we thought we'd better include. And then just today, as they expanded the site a little bit more, still out of the floodplain. Again, the plan is to be submitted yesterday, but we're going to be making changes tomorrow. It's one of those fast-moving design plans. But anyhow, they just said if we could remove 2 more, we added 2 more to the list today so that we got everything covered for the greatest flexibility on what they want to do. That way, we're not coming back before you again to remove 2 more specimen trees. Now, if we look at these trees that we're asking to be removed, they're pretty common trees. There's hackberry. There's, I think, 4 sycamores. Now, again, a sycamore, as you know, is a wet weather. It likes wet soils. There's a lot of sycamore down along the floodplain, but there are some scattered throughout the site. There's a hackberry. There is a couple of oaks. 5 of the 13, if you look at the report and stuff that Steve probably sent out with this, you may have this in your packet where it's I color coded it. 5 of the 13 are in poor condition. They have rot, they have an animal, a squirrel den or some kind of a den, an animal den in them. And, they're already dying. So 5 of the 13 are going to die whether we take them down or whether we give it a couple more years. There's 2 of them that have fence in them. So, that could hurt them. There's another one, an oak, that's in good condition, but it splits 7 feet above the ground. So you know what happens when we have a heavy wind and you have a tree that has heavy limbs, there's a good chance that it's gonna break at the Y. When I say it splits, it has a Y. It's not split yet, but it has the Y, which you will see, that's where it will split when we have heavy winds. So again, we have 5 plus those other 3, 8 of the 13 are already questionable. And then some of them that are in good condition. One of them is a hackberry. You got the sycamores I mentioned. You have an Osage orange. There's actually 2 hackberries that are in good condition. And the one that's probably the best tree that you hate to get rid of is the chinkapin oak. It's like a sawtooth oak. Now, there's a tree that's of value. One tree out of all these, there's 2 chinkapins, but the other one's in poor condition. Now, remember, these trees that we're asking to take down are mostly in rock breaks. So there's going to become a point. These are 30-inch diameter or the larger trees that are throughout the area that used to be farmed. And the reason they got to be 30 inches in diameter is because they're in areas where they could not farm because they're in rock breaks. So, that tells you at some point the roots are going to be limited out anyhow. So that is why we need to ask to remove these trees so that we can fully develop this site. This request is no different than a request made probably a year ago for the projects on Vesa Boulevard, where they were doing another large warehouse distribution center, and there were large trees there that also needed to be removed. The good news about this site is we do have the stream, we do have a nice 100-year floodplain buffer. We do have forest that is being saved and some forest planted in that buffer, and we're saving all the trees within that 100-year floodplain, which is the majority of the 48 trees. So that is our request. Again, there's 13 of them that we really need to remove, and 5 of them are in very poor condition. Another 3 are questionable.
Fred, you might want to point out on the map where those 13 trees roughly are and what the proposed improvements in grading are in that area that would affect the trees.
Let me go get my drawing because I think about it quicker. I haven't covered it.
And in addition to the 11 that you have on the submittal that you gave, what number are the 2 additional that make the 13th, the 12th and the 13th?
Yes, I'll answer that too.
It was almost impossible to find those trees in our submittal.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. With a strong one, having color coded. So the 2 additional ones that we asked for are number 26, and it is one of the oaks that is in poor condition, and the other one is S44, which is the white oak that splits 7 feet above grade. So those are the two trees. Now, if you want, I'll go over all of these trees so you see where they are. And those that are viewing from afar, can they see this?
Yeah.
They can, okay.
We'll get through you.
Okay. Sorry about that, folks at home. Okay, we'll start with S11 and 12. S11 and 12 are stand one, they're up in here. They're these two trees, 11 and 12. 13 is straight across here. So 13 is right there. Can you see it? If you're moving the hand there, that's it. That's it.
For those of you at home, Megan is following where Fred is pointing with the cursor, the little hand. You'll see it scrolling around on the drawing.
I can see it.
Okay. Megan, 14, 15, and 16 are on the edge of this forest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Something looks missing here, Steve. Where am I not seeing this one? There should be one over here, Megan, that I'm not seeing on. Is this the older plan, not the one I just sent you?
That's the one that went out on Friday.
Oh, it should be here. Should be 5. I see one. Oh, here they are. Megan, right here. This one. See this one? Then the next one down. Next one down. So there's 3. The last one down there gets saved. There's one here. You can get that one. There's one here. The 2 new ones that I just added are down along the water. 1, 2. It is this one, and this one. That one, then this one. Up above. There's 2 of them close together up here. Just out of the floodplain. If I could move your hand, I'd move it. Here and here. Can you see them, Megan? These 2. Up a little bit, and to the right a little bit. Your hand is over both of them right there. There's 2 of them. There's another one right up here. And there's one more over here. Keep coming to the left. Left a little more, right there. And the 2 that we just added, Ron, that you asked about, are the 2 down here. There's 2 of them right down here. It is these 2 that were just added today. And this 3rd one was one that was added last week or Monday when I submitted it. So these 3, this group right down here, it's just outside of the floodplain, but they want to be able to clear all of that area.
I have a question. Of the specimen trees that you are requesting to be removed, other than the ones that are damaged or in dire stress, how many are in the actual pad for the building and the parking lot?
Oh, geez, I'm not going to be able to answer that because I don't have an overlay that shows that. But there's 2 buildings. One of them's going right in here, so perhaps this was one of them. This one we're saving. I knew there was one up here, and I think it's this one. No, it's both of them. Both of them are going, and that's going to be where the driveway is going to come in and go around for the parking and access on the left side. I don't know there's any in the first building here. Then the next building is going to be in here, and I'm going to venture a guess that there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, I'm only concerned with the ones that are still viable, not the ones that you indicated that are
in poor condition.
Poor condition, or the one that had the V in it.
Okay, yeah. Let me just look at these. S16, specimen tree 16 is over here and it's in good condition. S13 is right there and it's in good condition.
That's right in the middle of the building.
It is, it's in the middle of the building. It's a hackberry though. Remember what it is.
I'm just trying to determine
Right.
how many good trees are.
That's
in jeopardy.
two, that's two of them. And then these two over here are 11 and 12. 11 and 12 are both in poor condition. These two are in poor condition. So out of the ones that are in the building footprint, it sounds like, two of them are in poor condition. One's a hackberry, but in good condition, and the other one is in good condition.
So that it looks like only two good ones are gonna
Yes.
go. The rest of them should.
Right. But the rest of them are where we got to have access and parking
Well,
for.
I'm just saying they're in bad condition, so they're not as viable as the others. Okay.
I think he said there were 4 that are in good condition.
Was
Total.
it, I thought he,
No, there's more than 4 that are in good condition. There's 5 that are, there's 13 that we're asking to remove.
Yeah.
There's 5 that are in bad condition,
Okay.
and there's 3 more that are in questionable condition.
All
If you're
right.
So
looking,
8 out of 13.
if you're looking for a concise list, if you go to the draft decision order, top of page 3. we
Right, I
have it
just
up
want to
for
be
you.
sure Ron's comment, there's only 2 that are viable is not quite right. There's more.
okay,
than-
okay,
But that are viable in the building footprint.
right.
Okay.
Yes.
Or the parking lot, but
Well, no, some of it in the parking lot and in the grading, because this site really rolls. Remember, it used to be a motocross, and it was perfect for motocross because it's very up and down, very rolling. And we have a lot of cut, and a lot of fill. You may remember November when we did the cross section through here. These houses here are going to see the roof of the very first building
right,
because it drops off that much, and we got to bring a lot of fill in just for that. And then we're going to move a lot of earth here to level out one big flat pad. And then with parking right around it, with tractor trailer parking, it's got to be flat
sure.
also.
But like, as I said, I was only concerned with
The building pad and what's in it.
trees that we were getting rid of in order to build and put a parking lot in.
Well, that's going to be all but these three, basically.
You're saying basically 3 or 4 that are in good condition that are gonna go along with the ones that are.
Yes.
Is that correct, Steve, is it 4 or 5?
5.
5, okay. 5 out of 13 then.
Yes, there's 5 out of 13 that would be of good condition that
Okay, that's fine.
that are in the
That's
area.
fine.
That are either in the way of the building,
Or-
macadam, or grading.
or grading.
Grading,
Or
okay.
stormwater management for that matter.
Yeah.
Any of the improvements, whatever they be.
Right.
Yeah.
See, when we saw this on Basil, we actually saw the building.
Yeah.
And there's one I remember, the tree right in the middle of the
Like,
building. We're not seeing that now, so,
Yeah,
we're asked to believe that, which we have no reason not to believe, but we're asked to believe that these are all in the way.
yeah.
Well, you've seen the sketch plan, you've approved the sketch plan, and
But I don't-
basically the entire center of the site is one big mass grading project because of the nature of the development.
And I understand that point, and, I didn't know that, Steve, it's my fault, it's nobody else's fault, but I didn't know that you really wanted us to see that. But the next time we do one of these, that's a good point. We'll make sure we just overlay in red, building, parking, but outside of that, all this other stuff, it's going to show up green when we're done with it. It's going to be seeded and it's going to be mowable, but it's all in grading. If it's not building, if it's not roof, and if it's not asphalt for parking or access, it's all going to be green when we are done. And in accordance with, the planning staffs and your recommendation, we are planting, when we do our forest plan, we are planting trees here and planting trees here along the right of way, along the public road, for both screening and tree planting. But we are still going to probably, I think the latest number is probably about maybe 12 to 15 acres of forest that we're going to probably have to pay the fee in lieu of. We're still working that out, but we're going to be paying a pretty large fee in lieu to the city.
It's a large development.
It is a large development.
All right, that answers my question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
question. So the 5 trees, did you guys, I'm sorry, did I miss it that we're not going to be replanting them? We're just digging them up, and what's happening to them?
They'll be bulldozed over. They're in an area where so much grading is occurring that
Fred, like,
they will be bulldozed over when they're clearing and grubbing and regrading all this. And again, they can't be transplanted due to their size. These are, remember, everyone got to be 30 inches in diameter or bigger at eye height to qualify. So these are mega big trees. But we are planting a lot of trees along Edgewood and Howe Road as part of the screen tree planting for this project.
Okay, thanks.
perhaps a little bit, since Ms. Martinez is new, maybe a little bit of explanation. Each site plan is required to have a forest conservation plan attached to it. The plan has this miracle computation that nobody hardly ever understands, but nonetheless we have to administer, that is based on the amount of the size of the property, the amounts of trees that are already, or qualified forests that are already there, and forest that's going to be removed. And if you remove below a certain amount, then you have to replant elsewhere on the property, or you get, we have a variety of ways that you can get it credit through street trees. Occasionally we'll approve off-site replanting elsewhere if that's the most effective route. But usually it's handled through on-site forest retention if forest exists, and also filling in around those forests, expanding those with new plantings. So while these trees will go away, a lot of the trees on the property and every tree in the floodplain is going to remain, and other trees will be planted on site as part of the overall site plan. And then ultimately, just given the nature of this, as Fred just mentioned, even after they do that, their obligation is going to be such that they'll also have to pay money to the city so the city can plant trees elsewhere as well.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? I guess we need a motion. Now, Steve, Jim, I'm going to ask you this question. Since Steve put together this series of findings of fact, do you think we need to consider each one of these findings, or we can take it as a lump sum?
I think take it as one stone.
Sounds good to me.
So, let's see if I can work this.
I move that we accept the forest conservation variance request as amended from the original presentation.
The amendment being additional trees.
Additional trees, yes.
And staff would recommend that you make as part of the motion that's based on the findings recommended in the staff report and cited in the draft decision in order, because you have to actually make findings, which we have drafted here for you, but you ought to refer to those in your amendment. Not individual, you don't necessarily need to do it individually, but just refer to the documents.
Okay, I'll amend the motion as what I started and Steve finished.
Sounds good to me.
This is Chris, I'll second.
Any further discussion? Ready to vote? All righty. Ms. Wheeler,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Mr. Stone,
Stain,
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So it passes. All right. Next item on the agenda is a briefing on local conversion overlay districts for a meeting scheduled January 26th. Ecklid at 4 Cypress Street.
Okay. You have a public review meeting for a proposed local conversion district located at 4 Cypress Street. This is Dr. Eklund's former doctor's office before he moved up the street. This has been before you in the past in workshop because it's a little bit outside of the norm of what we've seen in local conversion districts, because in this case, they're actually proposing to add parking, which we have not seen in the past. The ordinance only requires that any existing parking that is at or below current requirements be retained, but it doesn't require you to add parking. But they have the space to do so here, and they're choosing to. And we thought since it was something that you hadn't seen before, that you should workshop it. In that workshop, you all determined that you had no issue with that. But since this is going to public hearing at your next meeting, we would just, we're briefing you on it, letting you know that it's coming. Bill wants us here if he has anything to ask of you or you ask of him. But we're set for a public hearing at your next meeting, or public review meeting at your next meeting.
I'm going to recuse myself. He's my dentist.
Okay. Does anybody have a question for Mr. Wantz?
I have no questions.
No questions.
All righty. None hearing, none, I guess. Thank you for your attendance.
Well, I think I'll stay for the next one.
I think you will, yes. Okay. And now that Mr. Wantz has introduced the next agenda item, which is a briefing and discussion on conversion overlay district for Surrey School.
Okay, while Megan's getting that set up, I'll give you a little bit of an overview. We're looking to have a public review meeting soon on this, but an issue has come up that we needed to bring to your attention. We have the text amendments currently going through the process that would allow outdoor uses because in this particular case, they're looking to do outdoor dining. That's working its way through the process. We don't anticipate at this point that there'll be any issue with it. But the applicants are in a bit of a time rush, and they are asking whether this commission would have its public review meeting as proposed and schedule it for February and let it move forward. And if for some reason the outdoor uses don't get approved by the mayor and council in the text amendments, they would just omit that from the proposed plans. We checked with the city attorney, and he said because this body is not the body making the decision, that it's making a recommendation to the mayor and council, that procedurally it's okay if you want to do that, but it's your call. So I'm sure Bill's going to want to talk to you about that a little bit. But that's basically we're here just talking about what their overall proposal is going to be. And then that one particular administrative issue of whether or not you're willing to move forward with a public review meeting operating on the presumption that what they're doing outdoors will ultimately get approved. And if not, there's no harm, no foul. They could remove that part of the plan later if for some reason the text amendment doesn't pass.
So let's have the presentation, then we'll go to that item.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jack Becker. I'm the architect for the project. And I think this presentation should be a recap of materials that were provided, everyone. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, because you were here before and made a presentation in general.
I did.
Workshop with them, so they should be somewhat familiar with it, except for members who may not have attended that particular meeting.
Okay.
I'm afraid I'm at a loss. So.
Okay, so I'll quickly go through this set of drawings. I don't know how I should be advancing the slides. If I should just tell you?
Yeah, you can just.
Okay, so it's the Surrey School. I think most people are familiar with the site and building. It's an existing 3-story or 2-story plus basement structure that was built in 1908 to support a public school use. And its most recent use before being vacant was a daycare. Our proposed use, as Steve Bachmiller was summarizing, is a boutique hotel with ancillary amenity programming and a restaurant and spa that are likewise accessible to the general public. In addition to this use conversion, we're proposing additions to the side of the building and the rear of the building. We can go to the next slide.
The rear being which side of?
That's a great question. So Summit is the historic front facade, with Virginia being the street that separates it from the city park. The rear, I'm calling the Virginia Ave side that currently supports a surface parking lot. So this is a larger context. As you can see in red, that's the subject property. It's across the street from the city park. And just at the bottom is a brief summary timeline of the building's history as a school, a daycare, and currently a vacant structure. Go to the next slide. The current site plan, as I just mentioned, has at what I'm calling the rear, a very large surface parking lot. And on the Summit Avenue side is essentially open landscaping with a central footpath that connects to the sidewalk. You can keep going. The big landscape move presently contemplated is locating the parking and entry drive on the Summit Avenue frontage, which is its more prominent facade, and on the rear having what I'm calling the rear off of Virginia, retaining a curb cut for loading access and employee parking, but establishing a strong connection with the park across the street, as opposed to the current configuration, which doesn't really create much sympathy between, the city park environment and the rear of this property. You can go to the next slide. These are existing conditions photos. This is on the right, the front of the building. It's more primary facade with a large portico and gable. And on the back, that's taken from the parking lot itself. And you can see the site rises kind of significantly to where the building is supported. And it falls topographically in slope at that building location, which is it's essentially a ridge. So both towards Summit and Virginia, there's a slope away from the building. We can keep going. These are interior conditions. There's a lot of traces of its previous use as a school. A very kind of simple building, large classroom volumes at the corner of the building, very large, gracious corridors. A lot of this is are elements, qualities that we intend to preserve and incorporate into the future hotel use. Okay, you can keep going. So this is just in 3D, the existing appearance of the building at the front. You can keep going. And those are the two side wings that we're proposing that are secondary in height and conform to the underlying residential zones height limitations of 35 feet. As well as the required side yard setbacks. We can keep going. And this is the rear, and we're in yellow. I'm just showing what will be modified or removed. Those are kind of historic covered vestibule elements and stairs that we'd be removing to accommodate. And in the next slide, what I was calling the rear addition, which would be a single story and partially buried into this landscape that is falling away from the building. This lower single-story addition at the back would be housing those public-facing program elements, the restaurant and the spa that are likewise envisioned as being amenities to the hotel use, which would be on the 2 floors above this lowest story. You can keep going. So just quickly running through the plans, in yellow again is showing the demolition scope. This is an existing basement plan, and we're just quickly working our way up to the building. Down is the front facade, if that makes sense. The lowest part of the plan, that recess in the plan is that portico front element. You can keep going. And so this is the largest footprint of the building, this basement level that on Plan North, the top of the page, that's what unfolds towards the park. And that is where this terrace, would be engaging foot traffic from the park and providing access to the restaurant and spa program elements. In yellow is just the common circulation corridors of the proposed work. And at the bottom of the plan, there's an ADA accessible ramp that would get you to that basement from the front of the building. You can keep going.
One question.
Yep.
The green addition, that's one of the wings, and the other one with the hash marks are the wings that you plan to put on the building?
Yeah, in blue, the graphically in blue are new walls and in gray are existing walls. The hatches are more about describing program areas. So
I'm talking about the additions onto the exteriors of the structure. The green there that you have where the hand is now, Megan, and on the other end, the hat all the way over.
Yep, that's exactly right. Those
Okay.
are the wings
All right,
of the
those are the
building.
wings.
Yes,
Okay.
and about like north of the gray footprint is also an addition. Yes, but that's a single story addition.
Okay.
So you can keep moving along, and this is the ground floor plan, and the yellow elements that are removed at the left and right of the plan, in the middle of it, are existing masonry chimneys that will no longer be required from a mechanical standpoint. We're not heating and cooling the building with chimney exhaust, so you can keep going. And those spaces, the spaces that those chimneys occupy are intended to be used for continuing the corridor of this plan to those side addition wings. So the chimneys kind of get in the way of our ability to lengthen the existing corridor that runs down the center of the plan. So those would be remove those chimneys, and then we'd have a corridor in its place that connects to these two side additions, each of which would hold 2 hotel suites. And in the existing building, those 4 corners, those 4 large gracious corners of the building, they were designed to accommodate large classrooms, and they're big enough to be divided essentially on a diagonal into 2 additional hotel units. So this ground plan would have, you can see 12 hotel suites. Like I said, 2 in each of the 4 cornered classrooms, and then 2 additional on each of the side wings. You can keep going. And then a similar move on the second floor, you can keep going, where we're eliminating those chimneys to provide access to those side addition wings. The chimneys, as they come out of the roof, we intend to preserve, so we'd be supporting the brick chimneys as they penetrate the roof. So from the outside, you'd be none the wiser that the chimneys were removed. But in the actual interior of the building, the chimneys will no longer come down to the basement, and they won't be performing any mechanical exhaust role in the future building. You can keep going. And then this is just a roof plan. You can see on the side additions, we're maintaining a similar roof geometry. The existing building is hip roofed with corniced built-in gutters, and we're doing a version of that on these 2 side additions. They're obviously secondary in height and mass. And as we keep going, I can quickly touch upon the material intent, the design intent for the facade. This is just a blow up of the existing classroom and how we'd be dividing it in half. Similarly, this is a module of that addition that we'd likewise be yielding 2 units from. You can just fly through these. These are elevations that kind of recap the scope. You can go next. And this is just quickly, you can see in yellow at the left, the demolition of the existing side facade. Because there's a chimney, if you remember, engaging that end facade, that's where there's no windows. And it's the biggest expanse of brick on the facade for making new openings in. So this was a location that we could modify without altering the window design of the building. So that's, you can see at the left, that's where we're creating new openings in the building to hold that corridor, to allow the extension of that corridor. You can keep going. It's similar.
There will be staircases there where the chimneys in the interior of the building were.
They're not staircases, they're corridors. So they're part of the circulation, the future circulation, but they're not vertical circulation.
They're not going to have vertical stairways on the end of those corridors. That's what I'm getting at.
No, we're repurposing the existing stair cores.
Okay.
Yep, we're adding an elevator.
So the existing stairways that are in there now, that go back, those are not going to be retained?
We're going to be keeping the core locations. We're almost certainly going to be reconstructing the stairways themselves, but the actual shafts that hold the stairs, we intend to preserve and reconstruct modern stairs within. So we can quickly go back to that typical floor plan if you go back.
You're talking about the fire escape stairs, right?
Yeah.
Both sides.
Yeah, you can see exactly. You can see there's an idea about an elevator core that's a dead center in the plan, essentially, and flanking that elevator core are existing egress stairs that we intend to keep. Is that clear?
So there's only one major elevator then,
There's one major elevator, yeah.
and that's right in the center
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if this were a site that had less visibility in the round, I think we would consider adding an elevator or stair core to the outside of the building. But because it's so visible from the two public ways, it seemed like it would be a difficult challenge architecturally to make that feel right.
Is that the location, where the existing elevator is?
There is no existing
There
elevator.
isn't?
Yeah, it's just a walk up. So in order to make this an accessible hotel, an elevator is absolutely necessary. So you can return to, I think, where we were in the slide presentation. Yep, you can keep going. Yeah, this is just a blow up of the proposed addition at the side, and excuse the line work might be a little light to read. But like I said, it's a simple squat square building that's capped by a hip pyramidal roof with a cornice that projects off and overhangs the facade. And in contrast to the heavy masonry and stone base existing historic building, we're proposing cladding it in a combination of wood shingles and cedar clapboard, which we think will be a nice complement to the heavy masonry and be something that signifies that it's, it's of its time and a modern building. We intend to utilize a base of masonry so that that's in common, but the actual, what you'd call the superstructure that sits on the foundation, we intend to clad in a contrasting material like wood to the existing brick building.
Allow the historic structure to stand out.
Exactly. We don't want to create the impression that what we're building was there in 1908. We want it to be somehow contrasting. And we feel like we're already widening a fairly wide building. And by using something that isn't brick, it'll clarify that existing historic building.
And that's pretty much consistent with standard historic preservation practice. When you're building additions to historic buildings, you don't want the new to fake people out thinking it's part of the old. You want it to complement, you don't want it to contrast with the original building, but you don't want to fake people into thinking that it's part of the original building.
Now, at least in the past, most of the yard has been surrounded by chain link fence.
Yep.
Is that going to stay?
Absolutely not. No. We're going to get more.
Very strong statement.
By the way, we surveyed the development, and the chain link fence is in on us, it's not on the property line. So we're moving it, and we don't worry about them saying it's theirs. It's 5 feet or 6 feet in on us, and it's because there were old trees there that they didn't want to take down when they put that chain link fence up.
Yeah, we're going to remove them unless you insist we keep them.
I'm always hating that chicken.
Hey, these are just area plans that in very simple terms, you can go back one, in yellow highlighted, that's new construction. So you can see proportionally, it's, I think that it's something like adding 25-30% area to the site. You can go to the next slide. And then this is just a bird's eye showing the back. And those one-story additions that are partially, because of the topography, partially submerged. And you know, they don't obscure the existing historic facade, especially the view from the park across the street. They're very low slung. You can go to the next slide. And then this is the front. Next slide. This is a view at the bottom from the park in that, I guess that northwest corner, I believe, of the site. It's very symmetrical. The existing building has a very strong axis of symmetry, and we're using that to organize the proposed work. You can go to the next slide. And then this is that front of the building and a drop off where you can see kind of a railing, and that would be providing fall protection for an ADA ramp that descends to that basement level where the restaurant is. So if you're getting dropped off and you have a need for an accessible route, instead of the steps that go to that main level, that would be very, very difficult to retrofit for accessibility. We're proposing a ramp that goes down to the basement, which engages with that elevator core so that you can get to the rest of the building, and also engages with the most public functions of the site, which would be the restaurant and the spa. And it also architecturally, we think, is the most inconspicuous and discreet way of making it an accessible entrance at this front. And I think that's the end of the architectural presentation. I was going to transition to Danny Alexander of Studio AKA, and she's our landscape architect. And Fred, if you have comments at any point, just make yourself heard. I don't know if Danny, I think, is on the Zoom virtually, and I think.
Hi.
Okay, great.
Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks for giving us a chance to talk a little bit about the landscape design of the property. We're really excited about what we're thinking here and happy to answer any questions. So we went through a process of looking at several different concepts to arrive at this place with different parking arrangements and different program arrangements. But if you could go to the next plan. This is an overall plan. So to your left is Virginia Ave, and to your right is 535 Summit, is the Summit Avenue side. And as Jack mentioned, we're looking to reinforce the fact that that side is the front. And so we want visitors entering from that side to access the hotel while we're maintaining a curb cut on the other side, although hoping to move it so that we have a little bit of employee parking and entry to entry for truck deliveries for the hotel. So what you're seeing on the east side, the Summit Avenue side, is an axial drive aisle that is flanked by 2 bioretention facilities because we'll be managing all of our stormwater on site. And in the center is a rotary that directs you either to a bank of parking on the north side or to the drop-off near the entry, and then another bank of parking on the south side of the rotary. And so this will be where most of the visitors are coming and parking to access this space. On the Virginia Avenue side, we have in the kind of light blue color, a major terrace that Jack showed is coming off of that new addition that's built into the landscape, because we wanted to have an at-grade outdoor space that engaged the interior and exterior of the hotel. And currently that large terrace is planned for either outdoor dining if it is permitted, or we will wind up programming it with loungers and recreation, things like that for the hotel guests. You'll see two rectangular kind of spurs off of that terrace. Those are just smaller terraces with kind of a built-in bench. They're retaining a little bit of grade so that we have multi-scales of occupiable space. There is an event lawn that also is right in front of those terraces, and we're wrapping the event lawn in orchard trees. On either side of the property, we know we will be replacing street trees, and so we're showing 8 large street trees on the Summit Avenue side, and then 6 street trees on the Virginia Avenue side, as well as a smaller tree that is an extension of the buffer planting that we'll be planting on either side. Because again, we want to make sure that we put back a lot of planting. There isn't a lot of planting there now, and we really want to make this a lush space that that gives the neighbors some privacy, as well as really beautifies the space. And we're hoping to use mostly native plants across the property. Additional to that, there's some green roofs that we have planned for the building, not only as stormwater devices, but also to provide visual appeal outside of the visitors' windows. And then there's a terraced parterre garden that manages some grade over its planned north and just to the north of one of the smaller outdoor patio terraces. And I think that is about it. We'll be managing stormwater on site, like I said, so we'll have large scale bioswale devices on either side of the property, since the property does slope in both directions. So if you go to the next page.
Before you go there, before we leave that one, if you don't
Sure.
mind. On, I guess, what is the southern edge of the property? There's that strip right there, just to the left of there, just past there. What is that purpose of that?
Sure. Can you go 2 pages forward? Sorry, I did a lot of discussion on that plan, but I actually had enlargement plans of each area. So what you see here is we're trying to provide a turnaround because this is where trucks will be making deliveries to a garage entry on the face of the building. And that entry will be lower in elevation than the building's basement finish floor, so that the truck bed is on level with the garage. So we've got to get down, excuse me, a fair way. So that is a hammerhead that is sloping to allow for those trucks to turn around safely. And in that location, that's also where we're hoping to locate the dumpster and in its enclosure.
Are there residents just on the other side of the property line there?
There is that side of the property is abutted by residential properties.
Just opposite that opening on the other side of your property line, are there residents?
Yes.
Can we establish some kind of screen there?
So that turnaround will be lower in elevation. So it will be, there will be a retaining wall there. So that does some of the screening. And we will be establishing a screen around the dumpster as well.
Good. And I didn't know about the dumpster, but my immediate concern was headlights shining into somebody's bedroom window.
I think that's going to be a lower elevation. I think any headlights there are going to be going into a retaining wall that they would.
Okay.
We won't go past the property.
That's exactly right.
I
Okay.
can't
Aside
hear
from
what
what
Fred
it's-
is saying, but I'm assuming Fred is answering the question.
I was gonna say, for what it's worth, this is a loading aisle for deliveries which will be taking place during the day. It's not hotel guests coming in at all hours of the day. But to reiterate Fred's point, that hammerhead is retained on the south. And so, the headlights, like he said, will be going, if they are headlights, they would be going into a retaining wall, not across the property line.
So that's not an entrance per se, it's just a increase in the size of the driveway there so that they can do the turnaround.
Exactly.
Correct, yes.
It's so K-turn can take place.
That backs up the houses that are on Dunnerton Drive.
And what I'm looking at is that the additions that you did there, the diamond there, or not diamond, but the area in white there. How do you get from the front of the building to that area? It doesn't look like you can get any vehicles through there.
Yes, these are, and Danny, this is Jack chiming in. There's no cross-site vehicular drive. This is a service drive and employee parking, whereas
Okay,
the other curb cut is serving the guests of the hotel.
okay,
In terms of pedestrian circulation, the north side of the property is where there's a pedestrian way between the Summit side and the Virginia side.
okay.
How wide is that green area at its narrowest?
Danny, did you catch that?
The width of the green area, you mean between the property line and the retaining wall?
Yes.
We've yet to determine the width of the retaining wall there, but I believe we have 4 or 5 feet as it's drawn right now.
Typical buffer requirement is 10 feet. That's not to say that this body may not be able to entertain, a waiver with mitigation, but
Fred, do you want to speak to that? We discussed potentially about either when it comes to the design of that area, whether we would
And can you
request a
hear me now?
variance.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Great. So yes, we know this site is, it's a reuse of an old site, and we're going to need a couple of variances, and we know that we'll need a variance right there. But this is going to be a retaining wall, so when a truck comes in and pulls in and backs in for this service area to unload at the lowest elevation here, that's why we have this hammerhead. And also so that the dumpster truck can come in and come back and pick that up and empty it. But this is going to be a retaining wall, so the lights will shine in the retaining wall and not go over top of it. This may be a 5-foot high retaining wall right here. But yes, we know that we're going to need some variances, so you will get to see this again. Something else that just came up today, if you could go 2 slides back.
Before you move from that one, okay, if that's a retaining wall, how are the service trucks coming in? From what end of the service trucks coming in?
They're going to come in off of Virginia
I
Avenue.
didn't see the curb cut for that in the original.
You want to go back now?
View, okay?
We'll go back and look at the overall then.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, so when you go,
Okay.
there's Virginia Avenue,
I didn't.
and there's our curb cut,
Yeah, okay.
so that we can back in here and unload for the food. This is the restaurant side, this is the spa side.
That's what I was looking for, the entrance to
Yes.
that area.
Yeah, because right now the entrance is really centralized.
Okay.
And something that just happened today, so this is hot off the press, and forgive me, Danny, because you don't even know about this, but I did talk to Valerie and Alexis about this. We're going to look at this a little bit closer. We got our geotech report today. And of course, this is karst, and it's also rock. And another big surprise was there was fill put in ages ago when they built this in here, so it's not virgin material, and it also doesn't perk. So we're going to have to go with whatever we do here will be underground stormwater management, but not infiltration. So all of this, as you probably recall, is all impervious right now. we're going to make a lot of this green, but we may have to go back and revisit this a little bit to try to see if we can't pick up a little bit more area and maybe do something a little bit different. So while you're seeing is like the 4th or 5th iteration of planning that the whole team has done, and Danny led us on this, and it's a great job. We love the layout. We got a surprise today from the geotech report that it's going to be a little challenging on the stormwater side. So you may see some tweaks between what you see here and the final plan that we come back and show you on. But in general, in general, this is what it's going to look like.
Is there a
Thanks, Fred.
need for railing on the top of that retaining wall?
Yes, there will be.
Okay.
Yep, there will be. Absolutely. That's just code.
Yeah.
And Alexis and Valerie, did you meet? You've been here before, I think. I don't know if you met Doug. Doug may not have been at that meeting,
Welcome.
but they're the leaders of Surrey Hospitality.
That's what's going to be called, Surrey Hospitality. I'm sorry?
Surrey Hill Hotel.
Surrey Hill
Hotel.
Cool.
Nice.
And Doug, FYI, it looks like where that turnaround is going to be is approximately where a detached garage is.
Yeah, I
on the
looked at-
adjoining house. So
I look at.
there's a building there that'll at least partially
Yep.
covered on the adjacent property.
Yep.
When it comes to what they're doing out front, staff would just point out that the pedestrian entryway along Summit Avenue is probably part of the original construction. Staff would encourage that to be repurposed. They probably have to move it if they're going to put a driveway in there because the opening's not wide enough. But the features there, the ornament, the metal fence and the pediments, if they could repurpose them as part of their landscaping plan, that would be a good thing.
All right, we interrupted. Is there anything else you want to show us?
These are just enlargements that describe the improvements that I walked through. So I can also just answer questions. Also, like Fred said, there's some noting of stormwater management and permeable paving. We found out today that won't be possible. So there'll be some tweaks to this, as he said.
So this is going to be scheduled to go to public hearing at our next meeting?
February meeting.
Are you going to have the revisions to the design that you were talking about that result from what you learned today about the
We
inability to
haven't
do?
filed the application for rezoning yet. We're putting that together now and waiting for the final concept plan to be executed. But this is preliminary for application.
I mean, yeah, especially in light of the late-breaking geotech report that was
Right.
released today, there will certainly be tweaks made, and for that February meeting, they'll be baked into the updated concept.
Sure.
And staff would point out that for a rezoning exhibit, they don't need something that is site plan level detail because there's a presumption that things will be massaged and changed a little bit from the time the zoning is approved to a site plan being approved. So don't be your own worst enemy when it comes to the actual exhibits on the submission. It needs to be accurate, reflect what will be there, but you don't want to get into a situation where you have to ask us whether or not you're going to move one tree, whether we got to go back to the mayor and council over kind of thing.
It's the application related concept plan.
I mean, we will see a final site plan subsequent to your application approval.
But the concept that we'll see at the public hearing will reflect the changes that you mentioned today.
As much as you can.
The ordinance contemplates a site plan process after the rezoning is completed.
I don't think that answers my question.
Let me answer that question, please. So Jim's question is, will the site plan, the concept plan that you're going to see in February reflect all of the changes that we talked about today? Basically, maybe massaging some parking, et cetera. The answer is, we hope so. But that concept plan, like Steve said very clearly, that concept plan is not the final site plan. Really, the purpose of the concept plan is much like what we're showing you today. Here's everything that we want to do. And they have this big checklist that we're going to go through, but it is not the final site
No,
plan.
I
So
understand that, but for conversion overlay, it typically has a little bit more than it would be if you were just doing a normal zoning application.
It has more sensitivity.
Yeah, the closer you are to probably what it's going to be final, the better it is. So we don't have people coming back and saying that's not what we showed us during the conversion overlay hearing.
Well, we're talking about 4 weeks from now at best, so there's no way we're gonna have a site plan, but we'll do our
I'm not
best.
suggesting that at all.
Right. But again, we want to make it as close as what we want to start the design to too.
Sure.
But I just want to make a promise that this is exactly what it's going to look like on that concept. It'll be a tweak from this, but, the final site plan may have things a couple feet different here or there just to make it work. And we will need variances at another stage.
It would be compliant with all of the concept plan requirements set forth in the conversion section of the ordinance, which generally provides concept plans that include sufficient detail to determine consistency with historical, and then provides a number of guidelines for the preparation of concept plan by the engineer.
Did I see a list of possible uses for this? Or was I looking at?
Yeah, no, you did. It was on the
That's somewhere in
second
the
page.
back.
What about here?
It wasn't for 30, I don't think.
Yeah, bank or credit union, business service center. Huh?
Different case. That's 245. Yeah. different
Okay,
case.
all right, thank you. I knew I saw a list, but I can't find it in this package.
By the
right
other side.
now. Okay,
Yeah, there you
we don't have anything on this, okay. Well, I think everyone in this room is excited about this plan. It'd be a positive for our city, it'd be positive for this neighborhood. And it's great to see this structure being used in this way. I know Jim is going to probably reserve the room where he went to first grade. Right after it opens. So,
You want to discuss the issue of the timing and the public review meeting?
The application submission as
what-
well, right?
what is the time? What is the issue?
They desire to have a public review meeting in February.
Yeah,
The problem is that they're showing outdoor uses, which the current, or ordinance currently does not permit, but the text amendments are pending on that.
I think the advice the attorney gave us is fine. Is everybody else okay with that? We can go ahead and see the plan with the assumption that the text amendments will be approved by the mayor and council subsequent to that.
Sure.
So I think, yeah, we'll see the whole shoot match, and if you got to change it, go before the mayor and council, you can do that.
And we can give you a little update on the text amendments. The public hearing for the text amendments is this month. And then if all goes according to schedule, they will have introduced the ordinance the night before the hearing for this. So we will know what the mayor and council intends to do.
Right. That's good. Any other issues? Great. Look forward to seeing you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a briefing discussion on local conversion district for 245 North Potomac Street. Dang if I didn't lose it again.
What's that?
There it is.
Oh, yeah, you have a hot sauce. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
You know what it reminds me of that hotels in
We good?
Upper Stairway.
Let's see now.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
You just started working on.
Yeah.
That's a little
Hilltop.
bigger.
That's a bit bigger.
A little bit bigger, yeah.
Okay, so this is another workshop for another local conversion district overlay at 245 North Potomac. So we have received an application for this one already. It's currently zoned residential office, which does allow for some commercial uses. And then the property is also in a residential historic district. So the applicant proposes no change to the existing office, which is in the lower rear of the building, or the 7 residential 1-bedroom units. They are proposing a new use of the commercial space facing the main artery, which will be one of these lists of uses that you were talking about, Doug. So it's bank or credit union, business service centers or quick printing services, bed and breakfast inns, catering kitchen, retail wholesale trade excluding auto, may include retail bakeries and retail confectionaries. And then the applicant also proposes removing the vinyl siding on the sides of the commercial front door as part of replacing the door with a commercial unit that's more consistent, and then also installing security cameras, front lighting, and then no other exterior changes at this time. And this is another one that we want to go to public review meeting in February, if you all are okay with that. But this is the first time you guys are hearing about this, so the applicant, John Osick, is here to present and answer any questions you guys may have. And then I have the rendering up on the screen as well.
Anybody have any questions? So what are you gonna do on the exterior of the building?
So essentially nothing outside of what would already be allowed under the current use. There's not grand plans to change the exterior. The front door, we're just planning on returning to a commercial glass front door. At some point, we're guessing in the late 80s, early 90s, it was converted to a residential type door from a cost perspective. And there's some vinyl white siding that it just doesn't really make sense. So we just want to return that front door into a commercial glass front door.
And the ordinance actually requires that.
Did you want to talk about the specifics of that?
Yeah, the property is located in the historic district, so any changes to the exterior are going to be subject to review and approval by the Historic District Commission. But knowing their guidelines, returning that enclosed front door, returning it to its commercial appearance, even though it's not historic per se, it's more consistent with the way that storefront would have been, and I can pretty much assure you the HDC will approve it. Because what's there now is essentially the opening, it's a double wide opening, although that drawing shows a single wide. The double wide opening was narrowed down and it had vinyl siding put in what amounts to what would appear to be side lights with a single wide door centered on the front of it, not in character with the rest of the storefront. We told Mr. Osick about that. He's agreed to put it as part of his proposal so that single unit door and the vinyl siding on either side of it will come out, and then a full glass door, either 2 doors or a single door with glass side lights, would be installed in its place.
There it goes. Yeah, this isn't working. I don't know why. Okay.
The back side of the building, that's now being used as residence, right?
Backside ground floor is an office, allowed under the current use.
I'm talking about the building that runs on down or runs up Randolph.
The building that runs up Randolph?
All this.
Bethel Street?
Yeah.
Yes, those.
Oh, is that Bethel?
That's Bethel.
Oh, it's Randolph on the other side. Okay.
Those second and third floors are all residential.
And
Yeah.
that use is going to be retained?
Correct. There'll be no change to any other unit other than that front.
But it's all the same property.
And in my mind, this is really a return to what it was initially designed and built at in 57. The RO zoning, the RO zoning, it's not a building like to the north of Bethel Street where they're all grand mansions, historic mansions, that are converted into offices. This was a built, mixed-use building that fronts the curb 12 feet, it's only 12 feet from the curb with those big front windows. We're just looking for a greater swath of uses, essentially the tenants that have been most interested in the property be allowed to use it.
If you notice on the street view that's on the screen, we have the front facade up. You've noticed it's all commercial storefront material except for that center door, which is essentially a residential door with vinyl siding on either side. That will be pulled out of that space, and then a new either French, opening, double door, or a single with glass side lights. Doesn't really matter as long as it's more consistent with the other windows that are on that facade. Staff's only other questions on this are the parking that's in the back that serves this building and this building are on two separate lots. And we're wondering if they should be combined into a single lot to ensure that the parking is always available, that the lot's not sold off. And then the second thing is there's a large expanse of concrete in front of the building. And we were wondering whether or not some thought may be given to channelizing that, pulling it up, putting some landscaping in. Maybe we thought we would just mention that to see if it generates any discussions amongst you all, because they've got probably 25 feet from the curb into the front of the building, probably 20 to 25 feet of paving.
Well, you line that up with the property just south of that, and it's not all of it. You wouldn't want to go past that line. That's a pretty wide. Yeah. Oh, there's no reason to go past what the other property is. Which looks to me about, I'm guessing, 8 to 12 feet. Assuming those chunks are 8 foot.
I mean, we'd certainly prefer commission, whatever was wanted. In our mind, it just made more sense to have more pedestrian thoroughfare. Again, we're asking for retail uses, so more pedestrians, and just to have greater, walking area there, so people aren't walking on the last 4 feet of sidewalk. But to your point, there's already that obstruction from the building next door, so the sidewalk only about 6 foot wide after that building.
When we have the staff looks at these properties on case-by-case basis holistically, and usually comes up with a list of recommendations on basically what amounts to a trade-off in return for the zoning, do these things to make the property better. Some cases, we end up with a fairly lengthy list, other ones next to nothing. This is kind of more of a next to nothing situation. We just saw all that paving. We thought maybe you should discuss it. We don't have a particular recommendation, but it does seem awful wide and uncontrolled there. But we leave it to you, between you and the applicant, to figure that out. We just thought we'd point it out as a matter of discussion. And then the issue with the parking is on a separate lot.
Are they the same ownership?
Correct. They're deeded separately. We own the back parking lot as well. Now, any prospective lease with this will actually not include back parking, period. That's retained for the residents. So the front lease, the prospective tenant that we'd like to get in there, we're willing to get in one spot in that back parking lot. And their customers would use the 3 public in the front and 3 public on the side of Bethel Street. Those would essentially be their 6 spots for retail use. They would only get 1 spot in the back parking lot.
And we're not saying that Mr. Osick would do this, but somewhere along the line, somebody who may own this property may say, ooh, look, I've got a lot back here, and sell it off and make the tenants park on the street.
So really that lot serves the residents more than the users of this.
But it is part of this property, yeah, and it's part of the zoning process, because the local conversion overlay, what it does, it's providing zoning approval for the additional mixture commercial, but also the residential in the building.
The whole kit and caboodle.
The whole kit and caboodle is part of the rezoning.
Okay.
So.
And that rezoning with the residential requires parking facilities, is that correct?
Local conversion does not require parking. It requires that any existing parking at or below current zoning ordinance requirements remain. Okay. And actually, this is kind of in a way, kind of like new ground, like that parking lot is on the other one that you saw here. This is a little bit different because this is a local conversion district where they're proposing the local conversion district overlaying 2 separate and distinct properties. Right. We haven't had that before. So then it raises the staff question of down the road, what would prevent an owner at some point to say, hey, I could sell this lot off back here for $80,000 so I can build a house on it or whatever. And the people who live in my apartments, well, they'll just have to park on the street.
Wait a minute, the overlay, the application is going to be for both, is going to include both lots, both the lot where the parking lot is and the lot where the building is.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a decent argument about it.
I think it should be protected. I mean, parking in the inner city is a premium. We don't want to lose any.
And I don't know if this hurts or helps our case, but actually logistically, we could never get rid of that parking lot. It would cut off access to 3 of the residential.
Yeah.
There's no other way to get to them other than through that parking lot. So to your point, an owner could do it, but I don't see how they could do it and still maintain the value of the front property.
Are you saying that's an access through that parking lot to get to the rear of some of the residential homes there?
Correct. I mean, there's a sidewalk in the parking lot, so you're not walking through a parking lot, a sidewalk to the neighboring property. The only way to get access, and I don't think Google Maps would be able to see it, but.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can. So right here, there's a stairwell up, and that accesses these units, these residential units in the back, and provides the rear access to the 4 units in the front.
So, yeah, well, I think.
So if this wasn't owned by this building, I suppose they could walk here and walk up. I suppose it doesn't eliminate access.
If you combine those 2 lots into one lot, that should not affect the use of that sidewalk to get to those apartments.
That's correct.
But it would protect the entire structure so that those parking spaces would be available to the tenants forever. I would think that maybe, this is just my opinion, that you might want to look into combining those 2 lots. Even though you say, you're going to own it, but what's to say that you might see an investment there in selling that lot?
Can we make that a condition? Do we have that authority? I think we should do that.
I think we should do that.
And you can set it up where it could be done after the zoning overlay is complete. That way, he's not taking a risk by having it done first. We say before use and occupancy permits or zoning approvals or whatever are provided, that it will be completed at that point. So that way it protects his interest. If for some reason it all falls apart at the 11th hour, he hasn't entered into a situation that he then can't get out of.
Will building permits be required?
Yeah.
The door probably.
It depends on, if he's gonna do retail.
For
change of use.
the likely tenant and the intended use, yes, they would
Those
be
could be
going
the
permits.
triggers.
Yeah.
So just so I'm clear, what you were saying, this is a contingency, but we'd be able to continue with this process.
Right.
I think that what we're saying is that's the direction in which we're thinking. I don't think we're making a decision.
Oh, yeah.
Now, but.
Yeah.
But
You would need to do it between, the way I envision it, you would have to do it between the time the mayor and council approves the rezoning and the time you get a use and occupancy permit for the commercial space.
Gotcha. I mean, that certainly is fine by us.
And it's a simple consolidation plat, wouldn't take a whole lot. So,
it looks like a nice.
The improvement also on that corner.
At least we did the sidewalk.
Yep. Yep. Remember Marsall was in there.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
The walls.
Yep. Already.
Close the determination with concrete on the back.
what are your thoughts on the concrete in the front?
I'd like to see some of that turn to grass, but no further out, to me, no further out in the road than the adjacent property owner.
Yeah. And you would just make that part of your plan. If you're amenable to that, just do a schematic of how you would treat the front sidewalk
Or
area.
maybe
as part of
there's,
the exhibit.
I can see other ideas, like for example, you could basically have like box planting areas
In front.
in the front that come out, that remove some of the sidewalk. Now, I don't think
Not
that's,
necessarily.
I don't think it has to be grass
Like
necessarily.
elevated planters.
Yes, yes.
Like that.
Something green, not necessarily grass.
Those are my words I was coming up with. Something green, not paint.
Well, that would be.
Something that grows.
Tear out the concrete.
Yeah. All righty. Anything else?
And
Yeah.
then this would be, again, February public review meeting. So I guess it'd be on the same schedule as,
Huh?
it would be on the February public review meeting.
Okay.
It's the same schedule as Surrey School.
All right.
What's the date of that review?
I go first next time.
I don't know who makes that executive decision. You have to go after the minute.
All right, well, thank you everybody for your time.
Thank you. 23rd.
Good thing is we won't have 6 months of minutes to catch up on.
Yeah, that's a rarity.
Oh, okay. All right. We having fun yet?
Always.
All right, so we now land conveyance request for Hood Street, Central Trail. I heard something about a ballpark.
Good evening, everyone. Rodney Tissue, City Engineer. Yes, as part of the proposed Hagerstown Multi-Use Sports and Events Facility is the correct name, but I'll probably just call it the stadium from here on out. The Maryland Stadium Authority is constructing the facility and they're actively compiling all the properties that they need to be able to construct it. They've dealt with several private properties, the Herald Mail, the car wash, the laundromat, the county office building is being relocated to Northern Avenue. And then what's left is 2 properties that the city owns. One is Hood Street and the other is the Cultural Trail. I think it's our custom and the way we usually do things here is that we run this past the planning commission before it ultimately winds up at the city council, where they would have to pass an ordinance to declare the land either not needed for a public purpose or that it just basically to transfer it to the Maryland Stadium Authority. After the stadium is constructed, then the whole thing will be transferred to the local industrial foundation as the owner. The city will not own the property. So Hood Street, I know you're all familiar with this, was built around 1967. It doesn't really have a tremendous function as far as the street network goes and could be eliminated, I think, without causing any major traffic problems. The right turn coming up Baltimore Street at Summit is rather tight, and that can be addressed as part of their design. The Cultural Trail was built just 5 years ago, but the plan would be to relocate the Cultural Trail around the perimeter of the stadium, either to the east or to the west. The concept that I put in your packet, which is from the original study, shows it going towards the east up to the alley, up to Ayers Alley behind the Lutheran Church. There's an MOU being developed between the city and the Maryland Stadium Authority that guarantees certain things about how the trail will be relocated. It's still in a very early form, but we're working at it, and ultimately that would be approved by the city council as well. We sent this to all the utilities and their comments are in my memo. Basically, the light department has facilities that will need to be relocated. Columbia Gas has a service lateral that will need to be relocated or probably just removed. And there's a very large storm drain through the property that we're assuming that the Maryland Stadium Authority will have to relocate. So our recommendation is that we transfer it, but I'm here to receive whatever comments you may have.
I don't see any reason not to.
Yeah. Now, what will happen, Hood Street will be combined to one of those lots in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be like a combination plat that would combine all these pieces.
It's all going to be one big mass.
Yes.
Okay. I often wondered why that road was in there anyway.
I don't know the history of that, why they built that. There had to be a reason, but I'm not sure.
Well, that might have been the time that Mayor Mills owned the property. It's about that time frame.
Yeah.
And he probably thought it was a good idea.
That's all.
Yeah, because I think before that became a Grand Union store,
Right.
I guess
It
H.L.
was
Mills store.
It was H.L. Mills.
I don't think the elevation is like it is now.
They cut that out?
I think they did cut that out at some point in time, didn't they?
It was a
Yeah.
rail yard area.
Yeah,
There's a lot of railroad stuff that used to be in there.
Yeah, oh, okay. You're right.
I think that building, pretty much, that rock cut and stuff was done for the old building.
That's what
Yeah.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And it may be that, you know, he thought it was a better idea, more convenient, made his own property more convenient to be able to get out and go around that way.
Yeah.
They probably donated the land.
So I make a motion that we recommend the mayor and council that this transfer be accomplished.
Second.
Did y'all hear the motion?
Yes.
All right, the only one left. You can't look around, see else is there. All righty.
Can I just quick ask?
There we are.
question?
Yes.
And the question is, so if we're transferring this and this is all going to be private, but the cultural trail is
Judy,
supposed to go,
Judy, I can't hear you. Can you?
all right. Can Rodney just talk again a little bit to the relocation of the cultural trail? If this is all going to be in private hands now, so how does the design and the cultural trail stay consistent with what we've had there?
I'm kind of reading between the lines, but I think your question is, who will own the land the cultural trail will be on when it's all said and done? Is that what you're saying?
I couldn't actually understand you too well, but.
Oh,
Well, the relocated trail will be part of the actual ownership of that will be part of this MOU that I've been talking about. But most likely it'll be owned by the city unless there's some mitigating circumstance that we can own it. The stadium authority and chief do not want to own it. So
Okay.
plan is right now.
That answer.
That's
Go ahead.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's clarification I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Okay.
I would be concerned when all is said and done, when this is hashed around. I think that cultural trail should be protected. I don't care who owns it, as long as it's protected
Yes.
and doesn't fall by the wayside.
but it could be relocated.
As long as it's protected.
As long as it's continuous.
Yes.
Yes. I totally agree with that. And I think we'll make that a condition of this. And yeah.
I'm sure the mayor and council will agree with you also, Ron.
And, you know, I can see several ways in which that can be done. Obviously, we're not here to talk about designs now, but I think that can be accomplished.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, it's like what will happen is that we give the land to the seller, give the land to the stadium authority, they build their facility, they relocate the trail, and then they subdivide it and give part of it back to us that has the trail on it.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And I think it needs to be available 24/7. It can't be closed off even for games or something like that.
That's a good job for Rod to be, champion. I elect him to be the champion of preserving that.
All right. So so far I'm hearing that we're in favor of this. Are other questions or concerns?
How do I make that motion?
It's been made.
It's been made.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
And
how do we put what I said about preserving it in there, or should we just leave it as it is now?
I don't think all of it's going to be our call. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think
I can
it's gonna be our
take your
call whether it's
comments, Mr. Thomas, and share them with the mayor and council. That it be open 24/7, that it be continuous, and preferably the city would own it. I can convey those to the council.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I can live with that.
Okay.
this is a recommendation to the mayor and council as it anyhow.
Correct.
We ready to vote on the recommendation?
Did I hear a second also? I'll second it if there's no
I
second.
think you already did.
I think you did already.
I didn't hear the second. I guess I was too busy talking to Rodney.
All righty. We ready to vote? Do I need to take a roll call on this recommendation? Might as well.
Yeah.
Ms. Wheeler,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre,
Abstain.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Mr. Stone,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
You got me already.
But damn, if I didn't, you don't know twice, my list twice. I just called stuff in the ballot.
But you skip yourself.
And, you know, I was getting ready to do that. And I'm an aye. It passes unanimously except for one abstention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to do this rest of the thing tonight?
What's up?
Oh, boy.
It may get punched.
Annual report?
This is, you guys already saw this. I already sent it to the state. You just told me you wanted to see the final, so here it is.
Everybody okay with it?
All righty.
Good night. Did you all see Kathy's email
Yes,
today?
I did. I got a question. This is really, really helpful and thank you. I'm wondering if we could somehow in this mega warehouse development report indicate how many employees or FTEs are involved on each site? If that's easy to do?
Many of these are still completely spec.
Right, but you've got some that are completed.
We can find out if they'll share. Amazon was a little cagey with this one that was opening on Basil, so I don't know if they'll tell us. We can ask.
Well, I mean, that's, everybody comes to us and says, but we'll create jobs. Well, okay, how many?
We can ask.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to point out that 15.5 million square feet.
15 point.
And that's as of today.
As of,
And that's roughly how many Pentagons? I mean, it's,
I was going to try to do that too, but I had to run out the door to come to this meeting.
That's the total of all those big buildings that.
That's on this list,
On that list, okay.
15.5 million.
that's probably as much square footage as the rest of the town put together.
Yeah.
Or something close to that.
It's a very interesting document. Why did you put it together?
I was filling in for Steve at the Land Use Council last week. And they were asking about trends, and one of the biggest trends we're facing right now is this speculative mega warehouse development. So I started putting together what we knew, and I asked the county for their information and found out about some more that I didn't know about. And so I just figured this would be helpful because it's a lot that's coming at us right now.
It sure is.
I hate to be a negative guy, but 15 years, we're gonna have 14 million square foot of empty space.
Or reconfigured or redeveloped.
Hopefully redeveloped or reconfigured, because, you know, things change.
World's go-to site for indoor soccer arenas.
Yes, that's right, lots of them.
Soccer?
Yeah.
Pan American Games.
That's right.
Well, we could host the Olympics then.
That big Amazon building could be a fantastic indoor polo ring.
Many times over.
Probably even too big.
Huh?
Probably even bigger than it would need to be.
Well,
Did you see the article in the paper a while back where they had a drawing of the footprint for that building? And they showed different things that could be put inside. Well, one of them was how many Empire State Buildings you can put inside. Right. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's very significant.
27, 747.
You know,
Yeah.
You could, it would also include the number of aircraft carriers.
How many of these are going to be close to annexation?
There are two that we are working on annexation agreements for, which is Oak Ridge Drive and Western Maryland Parkway.
Yeah.
It's marked on the chart in the box. On the left side.
Well, you would say yes, yes. Oh, no, you said that was water approved.
On the far left, where project first shows up in the column, the two say annexation. And the outside the city projects at the bottom of that chart before you get to pending.
Oh, in bold letters, annexation, yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, anything else for the good? We ready to adjourn? We are adjourned. Thank you all for your time.
See you next time.
Thank you.